Hi, I'm Chris Congdon from Steelcase, and I'm here with my colleague Adam Lanteigne from Microsoft, and we're together at the Envision conference that's here in Orlando, Florida, and we're really excited to be here and participating in the conference, and especially to be inviting guests to come into the creative spaces that together with Microsoft we have introduced earlier this year. The creative spaces are really based on our joint research about how people can innovate and create in their everyday lives at work, and how space and technology working together can really help people work seamlessly to be able to be more creative, to be able to innovate, to be able to work in dramatically different ways. And so one of the things that we've learned in our research together is that the creative process isn't one that's linear at all, right? I mean, it's a process where we're iterating, we're going back and forth, and we're doing a lot of different things, right?
Yeah, and it's not locked into just an individual that wears a black t-shirt all day, every day, and dresses head to toe in a particular garb or comes from a specific industry. It's necessary for everyone to flex their creativity, and I think through our research we found that combination of tech and space can actually help to encourage and harness creative potential.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely right. So we're going to take you on a little tour today of the creative spaces that we have here in Orlando. They are in a ballroom in a hotel, so they're a little different than what you might experience in real life, but it'll give you a sense of how these places could be used. So one of the first things we want to share with you is that creative work often takes places with a lot of different size groups, but pairs are a really important team working together. So Adam and I have worked together a lot on the creative spaces over the past year. So if we had a space like this, which is called the Duo Studio, we might be able to work in very different ways. So for example, Adam and I could sit side by side and work on content together, being able to look over each other's shoulders and be able to interact in one way in this space. Adam is showing you the Microsoft Surface Studio, where you can see how he can use this in new ways for the creative process.
I mean, for me, this is certainly my favorite space of the ecosystem, in particular because I think I find most of my time spent here. I think throughout my career, I've piggybacked on so many fantastic ideas and done the same for others, that as you work through it, be it a day or over the course of a week or 2 months, there's so many times when you hear about famous duos. And so I think about all the times that I've wanted to sit and engage, not just in my own work, but directly beside someone that's a co-collaborator on a particular project over a long term. So I know that when I'm sitting in my creative state, I need to rapidly move between different work modes. So my head might be in, reading a document and flipping through and actually just ingesting content, and I need to switch immediately to creating content or marking up over that content. So of course, I might want to sit up and look at this differently if it's going to help my cognitive state. And so the beauty of this sit-stand desk is that I can do that, but I can also actually change the mode of work and bring this from 90 degrees down to 20 degrees into studio mode. And so I can actually get into and over my work. I can lean on a device, and it changes the way that I engage or think about that content. So I could circle, make this personal, and of course I could start to save it. And in the same way, I could actually use the built-in base of a Surface Studio and actually share my content in real time with a colleague in a Duo Studio.
And because we're a pair that works together often, we can both be using our pens and annotating on this document, but then sometimes we need to bring other people into our collaboration. So this particular space has 2 zones, the one in the back where Adam and I might be working side by side, but if we need to bring a colleague in, we can move up to the other zone in the space and be able to interact with a hub. So I'm going to come through while Adam is here, and we need to have our colleague come with us because we need another person to give us input. So we're inviting Amber to come join us in our creative process as we look at this work together. So we can see on this screen the work that Adam is doing on the screen behind us on the Surface Studio. Amber, what do you think?
I think this is great. I might actually change this paragraph and potentially move it down a couple paragraphs. I don't know, what do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I would do that. So this is a way that we can begin to bring other people into our collaboration. The notes that Amber's making on the screen are captured on not only Adam's Surface Studio, but also on his mobile device, which we're going to bring with us into another one of the creative spaces. So come on, let's go. See you later, Amber. Okay. We're moving into a space that's called the Maker Commons, and you can see it's a very open space. This would be kind of the center maybe of a creative zone for your work team. And a Maker Commons is all about just that. It's about making new things, experimenting, getting playful, and being able to use kind of a combination of analog but also digital artifacts. So a great device in that process is the Microsoft Surface Hub, this time on a really large scale. This is an 84-inch scale, right?
Yeah, it's a 4K 100 touch point collaboration device, and I think what's really special about a collaboration device is goes way beyond technology. And we've talked a lot this morning about digital transformation, and I mean, when we think about investing $2 billion this year for companies in digital transformation, you know, we've got to start to break up what does digital transformation or workplace transformation actually mean. And I think we often pivot really heavily on the digital in that context. And really what we're talking about in this space is a collaboration device that changes culture. And so we've started to see the device plus space in a thoughtful way bring in a new way of engagement, bring in play, bring in the fact that we can collaborate together, bring in someone else, invite someone over from a space that's very, very close in proximity, and they can bring their own content to play, to be thoughtful, to share immediately, and walk away from that, and we can continue and still work and iterate. So just as an example of bringing content in, we Miracast shared wirelessly from one device to another. Of course, we could do that with any device within the Surface family, or we could bring something in through a classic input like USB or through the cloud. So if we, for example, get into File Explorer here and just go to our USB, we might want to take a look at something we were talking about this morning, which is really the evolution of Jim Keen, the Steelcase CEO's own office, how he's used that to thoughtfully contribute to the R&D of the company. Even little things down to the footrest and how over time they've evolved, the way that the bars have been shaped, the height of the front versus the back, and of course the surrounding elements that make up what his office actually looks like.
And you know, again, with this, we can begin to collaborate if we want to be able to annotate, if we want to be able to take notes about some of the things that we're seeing in the space. I can just write some notes for Jim to do when he comes back to the office, or we can begin to make some suggestions about, you know, how we might improve the space, how we might use this zone differently, or what kinds of ways we could use this space, which is kind of an area where you could gather outside of Jim's office. So just being able to have a device like this allows us to play around. It allows us, once we get comfortable with using this, and I know that that's a big adjustment for some people, right, Adam? Just getting comfortable with playing?
So, I mean, from a technology perspective, the first time you touch technology, it's so important that it works. It's so important that it's intuitive, that it feels natural.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you start to think about, from a digital transformation perspective, a lot about the versatility and the modes of work that you're working in, and how versatile a device can be. We need this device to kind of flow from the context of our iteration to sharing with the group to get feedback. Right. And so I think we often get so caught up in this creative notion of, I need to be a creative genius, or the lone creative genius. Really, creativity is more ideas from across the organization, from anywhere in the world, as our audiences grow, as they become more digitally savvy. So of course, I need to be able to take this content, to snip it, and actually bring it into a place where I can take a small piece of this, create a stacked model of about 15 pieces of content from across the web, from PowerPoint, from video, and then share that out immediately. And so that sharing principle as part of the fabric of the culture of the organization really aids in creativity.
Yeah, so I no longer have to take pictures and send that photo to my colleagues. You've already got it captured. And Could you email this to me too?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
you
perfect.
could essentially, get it around the company in an instant, and you've pulled from 15 different people, 15 different sources in less than 10 minutes.
Which means that my ideas can follow me wherever I go. I don't have to worry about from one space to the next. Am I losing track of my idea? Because sometimes it seems like when you take pictures, it's never the same. You kind of lose things, you lose flow and momentum. So with being able to have this range of spaces and range of devices, whatever creative process we're working on just goes with us kind of naturally. So speaking of going naturally, we're going to move to some other areas within the Maker Commons. The Maker Commons isn't just a place where we work at a large table or at a device, but it also has this kind of range of experiences that are much more casual, much more informal. A lot of people really like to be in places where they feel like they can kind of be their authentic selves, where they can relax, they can put up their feet, they can work in an area where there's a range of just materials and comfort, but also really high performance. People are only going to go to places where they can get work done and actually feel like they can be productive and achieve more in their spaces, right? So
when we were in New York last, I recall a particular conversation with Bob O'Donnell from Technalysis Research, whose previous research just in 2017 suggests that there's about a 150% increase in a desire for people to work from home. And what's leading that desire is not that they want to or that they need to work from home. It's simply choice. It's choice of the types of workspaces. It's choice of the fact that they can't control things like lighting or noise. And so this idea of having an ecosystem is so important. I can bring my content with me using a versatile device to a space that best suits that mode of work for that time period. And so to have a range of owned and shared spaces is super important. And this acts as one of those bridging zones where we can be informal and then move immediately to a place where I feel more comfortable.
Yeah, and because I have choices, I can choose the space that works best based on the type of work I need to do, or the mood that I'm in, or maybe my personality. I might be more introverted, which means that sometimes I just need to escape a little bit from stimulation. So sometimes I might want to be out in that open space, but at other times I might want to be able to retreat into a space like this. It's called a respite room, and this is a place where somebody can be able to sit and be able to focus on, just maybe some creative process that they're working on, be able to let their mind wander a little bit, and have kind of diffused thinking, which is a really good way from a creative perspective of being able to get to kind of a new solution. You sometimes have to shift from that deep focus mode into more diffused kind of thinking, where you can just kind of relax, take a deep breath sometimes throughout the day.
Yeah, so. I need a little bit more of this in my life for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. But we still need to get a lot of work done, and so the Focus Studio is one of the last spaces we're going to show you on our tour today. I love this space. I know Adam loves this space because we have a lot of work that we've got to get done, and the Focus Studio is really designed for an individual to be able to come in. If we were in a real office and not at a hotel, we'd be able to pull the door closed, so Adam would be able to mitigate some of those distractions, be it audio or visual distractions that sometimes take us off task. But now within this space, you're trying to design, what is that, Adam, a coffee maker?
So this is actually a JT file in Siemens JT to go. And what you notice is that it's super important, not only when you choose where you want to work and why you want to work, but that you can bring your apps, that you can bring all your content. And so this move to data sitting in the cloud across devices, that mobility of experience, being able to start with you and I working together in a duo studio, inviting someone in and actually being able to collaborate on a larger screen so we can make group decisions, and then finding a little bit more solitude in a place where, of course, this would have a glass door.
Right.
It would prevent me from, for example, making eye contact with someone out in the hall.
Right.
And I can very easily get in here and start to annotate, but of course, I don't want this to just stay here. I might want to take off, 0.05 millimeters from this piece right here that we're machining in our lab just down the hall. But I, of course, need to take a snapshot of this, not just on Surface Hub, but on any machine. I need that knowable experience that I can share and immediately email this out to my team. And so, of course, I could go to Twitter and ask for feedback immediately if that was my outlet to solicit feedback, or I could keep it internal and actually just use mail to share that out immediately, bring all of that feedback back together, and then move to another room where I could hold a meeting in about an hour. And the proximity from a room like this that allows that type of focused thinking to a room like the Ideation Hub or the Maker's Common is very, very important for creative thought.
So Adam, did I just see you take a picture with your pen?
I did. I just double-clicked the top there, and that's kind of the beauty of the relationship between Surface devices. Not only does the pen move from device to device, so I could use your pen if, for example, I left mine in another boardroom. I can program the pen to actually do things like take a snapshot of whatever screen I'm on, or save it to OneNote or email it.
Wow, how cool is that, right? I love that. I didn't even know that. I just learned today about that functionality. So we're always learning as we go through this process. So we're really happy that you came with us on our tour today. We're still going to be at the Envision and Ignite conference here in Orlando for a couple more days. We've got more Facebook Live broadcasts coming from the space. If you're an attendee here and you haven't come down, please come down and visit us. But stay tuned. We've got more exciting news to share while we're here at the Envision and Ignite conferences by Microsoft.
Thank you.